Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Grassia, art director for Pronto Comics. We're here today, right a couple hours before the 24-hour comic book challenge is about to happen, and we have our first interview. And I'll let him introduce himself, and please go.
All right, I'm Jason Williams. I am the artist on David Reddick's Wench Tales. I also do a webcomic called Realm of Gallimore. I've done ghost work for David on a bunch of things, including the Red Shirts game and various things. I work in animation part-time as well, and graphic design and an illustrator for a ton of things.
Okay.
From near Boston, just north of New Hampshire, and now I live in the wonderful big sky of Montana.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference and the best life choice I ever made.
That's cool.
Away from everything, sometimes a little too much, but
okay.
But I think that's it. Artist, got 2 kids, and fiance, and all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah, that's great stuff. That's great. So let me ask you, what got you into cartooning, into comics in the first place?
I think I'm probably just like anybody else you're going to interview. Grew up on Saturday morning cartoons when there were some. I'm 41, so I go back to watching the Smurfs, and I think my favorite, I'd have to say, of all time was G-Force, or the Gotcha Man.
Battle for the Planet.
It was just brilliant to me and just had me mesmerized. And I've always been artistic, and my dad was, and my grandfather was, and used to hang around and annoy my friends wanting to draw all day, and then older got into the comic book thing, and just it's what I do, and doing anything else is kind of pretending. So
okay.
This is, I think, who we all are, and totally involved now.
Yeah, very cool. It's I think that's the same for me. I mean, this is your interview, so I'm not going to speak about myself, but it's a very similar background you just mentioned.
It's all right. I mean, people won't even know, Michael. I mean, we almost look like twins, so it's fine.
So, well, you mentioned you do graphic design outside here. You work in animation. When you work in animation, are you doing concepts or storyboards, or are you an animator?
No, it's one of those things where I think we all go, oh, I'd love to be an animator, and then you do it and you're like, no, I really don't want to do this. This is tedious, and it's horrific, and it takes a special person to be an animator, and I'm not that person. The animation company is local, actually, and I work under contract here and there for them, and they do, it's called The Difference Consulting, and they do basic corporate, very cartoony internal films for customers like McDonald's or Chevron, or in their safety videos or training videos for their employees. And I do everything from storyboards to finished art for animation, and then they put it into After Effects and do all the animation there. There's 4 full-time guys there now, and they're just phenomenal and great group, and I've known a bunch of them now for years and years. So
that's cool. Are you and you're mostly a digital artist these days, or you still do traditional?
It's funny. I kind of go in waves. I work, all my comic strip stuff is on the Cintiq. Lucky enough to have a Cintiq companion, so I can work anywhere.
Hold on, we're getting a little glitch.
I do my sketching.
Okay, I'm sorry, we got a little glitch. Can you repeat yourself?
I do mostly on the Cintiq.
Okay.
And then I still do a lot of sketching freehand, and then take a picture or scan it and bring it in. It just, there's something still a little bit more fluid with me on paper than digitally. I'm getting more used to sketching digitally, but I do love the pen and paper and sketchbook.
That's cool. I feel the same way. And a lot of my work's digital as well at the end of it. Okay, so let me say, I first discovered you, well, I don't want to say discovered you, but found out about you through actually Dave Reddick's Wench Tales, when his Legend of Bill comic. Can you talk about how you got that and how you met him, or how all that started?
Yeah, it's been over 5 years now. I was just looking back to see, to answer that question. I had to look for the timeline, and I still do not remember how I found Legend of Bill, but it was early on, and I just fell in love with it immediately. I think David's style is amazing. His writing is just astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a couple of these funny, just like fan strips, and like, here's my stuff. Please just, email me back or something. I mean, it was like I was in awe of him, and he works for Paws, Jim Davis's Paws Inc.
Yeah.
And I did a Smurfs strip for him where Bill tramples through a Smurfs village, and he got the email at work and opened it and had everybody in hysterics. And that's how he contacted me. He's like, you got to do more of these. And I'm like, okay. And so he contacted me a while after that. And he offered me Wench Tales with Sarah. And I said, great, I'd love to. This is great. He said, are you going to send me scripts and then we'll go over them? And he's like, no, I want you to write it. And I'm like, no, I don't write. This is not, And he's like, no, you write really funny. And I'd never heard that before, never thought of myself as a writer, and that's the hardest thing for me is writing the comics. And I think the characters there just are so easy now, and they kind of write themselves. But and that's how I met David, and I did it for about 2 years, and then I stepped away. I had a divorce and had to dedicate myself to some other things, and then I came back. I think it was September, October this year. To take it over again full time.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I don't remember who the other artist was, but I remember seeing a different artist doing Wench for a while.
Yeah.
It was. I think I actually applied to that when he was looking for a new artist. Because I like you, I love Dave's style. It's just great, and his new strip that he has, The Intelligent Life, is. Yeah, I read it every day. It's great.
No, it's wonderful to see him succeeding so well, and he's a tremendous guy, and has been so encouraging to me, and he's, I guess, very selfless in my eyes. He just promotes everybody, and it's just a good guy, and love working with him.
That's great. He was actually supposed to do an interview for us, but he had to cancel due to scheduling for this weekend. So maybe next time I'll get him to talk.
It's kind of busy.
Yeah, no, I know. So anyway, let's actually now talk about your webcomic. You started a comic. You want to tell us about it, what it's about?
Rum McGallimore, rumofgallimore.com if you're interested. I'm always looking for new readers. It's been in my head for years. One of those things. I think we all have a story that we want to tell, and I've got a grand epic story. It goes on and on for years, and I've got huge, outline for it, and finally decided, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to start doing it, and it's really kind of a basic concept, good versus evil. I used kind of cats and dogs as my characters just because of how simple it is to see good versus evil in that concept, and we're starting to flesh it out now. It's been out for about a year off and on. I started in kind of a long comic book format, which is great, and I like working in it, but for a weekly strip, it was a little too daunting for me to do, in between everything else. So I just recently went back to the 3-panel. And if it gets bigger, it gets bigger. That's a nice thing about the web. It doesn't constrain us size-wise to move the story a little bit and to go on. And like you said, it's a simple concept. Sage, this princess, is in this chapter trying to save her mom, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, that's cool. Let me ask you, since you brought it up size-wise, and eventually I'm going to ask you for advice on, for people starting in cartooning and cartoonists. Is there a certain size you draw your strips at? Like you said, normal comic size, so I'm assuming 10 by 15 was a normal page stuff. Now with the internet, are you working at traditional strip size? Or are you changing up your size for that?
It's funny, I do and I don't. I have a template, a Blue Line Pro, comic book template, and I kind of use that for my width of almost everything. And I always have in the back of my mind, being ready to publish it traditionally if somebody wanted to. So, I work with that type of, traditional width, and then I bring it back to, I think we post on the strips at 892 for pixel size.
Okay.
But the nice thing about, and I think they use Comic Press for the Legend of Bill side, that, you are restricted lengthwise a little bit. But
yeah, something like little over 950, because
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I use Comic Press for mine, so.
Okay. And so, it gives us this freedom on the web to just basically do what we want.
Yeah.
And it's, it's kind of that double-edged sword. At first, you're like, oh, this is great. I'm kind of the opposite with a lot of artists. A blank page is just scary to me without any direction.
I understand.
I like art directors.
That's cool. So, before we, let's actually move on to advice outside of the size. What would you tell someone who's trying to either start cartooning, try to break into webcomics, or even just comics in general, or, what kind of advice would you give to them?
As far as comics, I can't say a lot because I'm still kind of breaking in. I don't have a full-time gig doing comics, and I'd love to at some point, I think. And I raised my 2 kids and had a family, and that was my priority. So my art always took a second seat to that. And the last couple of years of my kids getting older, it's been kind of more time for me to do that and dedicate, to the craft, and that's what you have to do.
Okay.
It's just that relentless pursuit of what you want to do to improve. And I guess either way with webcomics or comics is, and I've thought about this a lot, and it's be kind of true to yourself. Don't try to be the next, Jim Lee. You're not going to be the next Alex Ross. It's great to have influences, but, see what you can bring to the field. I have a very unique style. It's cartoony and, like you said, a little bit of retro, and it's not going to be for everybody, and I know that. Yeah. And it took a long time for me to realize that. So I'll find my audience, and I'm not too worried about it. And, just doing what you do to the best of your ability and never stop learning, I guess, is my biggest advice. And, as far as webcomics is, again, it's a tough one. I mean, my first instinct is like, just post what you want, get it out there. Don't be afraid. You've got nothing to lose. And then you do have a little bit of people. It's always going to be there. And so if you're posting, my biggest thing with webcomics, and I was at fault too, is not posting regularly. And Bar Wench is my priority because it's it's been out longer. It's a little bit more cemented, and I don't miss deadlines. I make sure I work ahead and do things right. And I think so many people get a little lackadaisical by the lack of, it's my business. I can do what I want, and nobody's paying for this, so I don't have to post it. And people remember that, and if you're gonna, people looking, if you're getting into comics or whatever, they're going to look at, that's your history, that's your resume. So you do have to be a little bit careful and take it very seriously.
Okay. That's really good advice, actually. I like that a lot. So I think we're going to end in a few moments, but is there, you already mentioned your webcomics and stuff, but is there anything you want to promote? You want to give the name again?
No, just realmofgallimore.com. You can always find me on Facebook at, Jason Williams Illustration. Super friendly if you have, advice for me or want advice, or, contact me. I've been getting questions now for a while, and it kind of blows me away. I'm like, I'm really nobody. But, I love the fact that people read these comics and take an interest into it. And that to me just blows me away, and just utterly grateful. And, thank you for interviewing.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for
a huge deal for me.
Well, thank you for taking the time with us. I mean, this is great. The advice you gave and the stuff you talked about, I think, was really helpful to people. Like you said, there's a lot of us out there that are the same type of person. I'm only 2 years younger than you, and I have the similar background. And I think there's a lot of us out there who might be afraid to start. and hearing that you just got to do it and be determined and keep working is, I think, some of the best advice you can give.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, there's always these positive things. I think somebody just put it out there, wasn't it, that Jack Kirby didn't start drawing comics until he was, 43 or 44?
Yeah, something like that. With, I think it was like Fantastic Four or something, was the first time you drew.
Yeah, every once in a while I get, really down on myself, these young guns and all this, and I think I grew up, with Joe Medora, when he was like 16 and he was just like penciling the X-Men. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to give up. I mean, I'm in my 20s and I'm not doing everything I want to do. So I think just, keeping things in perspective and doing it for the right reasons.
Okay.
I don't do it to have a huge house. I do it to, bring smile to people and to make people happy. And it makes me genuinely happy. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'll let you get back to your work, and
thank you
for taking the time, and hopefully we can talk again real soon.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael, and good luck with your event today.
Thank you very